I have to be honest about something. Until 6 months ago, like many others, I had only heard of Burkina Faso through negative news about poverty and instability. But as I began to delve deeper into Ibrahim Traoré and what he is doing for his country, I realized I had been misled by the Western media. The true story of the housing revolution happening in Burkina Faso will surprise you as much as it surprised me. This isn't just a story about building houses, it's about a nation rediscovering its identity and strength through the simplest of materials, earth. To understand why this is so revolutionary, we must go back to the housing crisis that Burkina Faso has faced for decades. This nation of 22 million people was once one of the poorest in the world, where over 80% of the population lived in rural areas, in makeshift homes, unable to withstand the harsh weather. The first problem was a severe housing shortage. According to 2022 statistics, only 15% of the population had housing that met minimum standards. The majority lived in shacks made of corrugated iron, scrap wood, or unreinforced mud bricks, which were prone to collapse during heavy rains. Every year, thousands of families faced losing their homes to natural disasters, with no financial means to rebuild. The metal sheet houses became like furnaces in the dry season, with internal temperatures reaching up to 50 degrees Celsius, 122 degrees Fahrenheit, making life unbearable and severely affecting health. The second problem was the dependence on imported materials. Cement, fired bricks, corrugated iron, and other modern building materials all had to be imported at exorbitant prices. This not only increased construction costs, but also created economic dependency, causing Burkina Faso to spend millions of dollars annually on importing materials, while, right beneath their feet, lay an endless resource, high-quality clay. The third problem was the loss of traditional knowledge. For centuries, the ancestors of the Burkinabe people were masters at using earth to build beautiful and durable structures. But the influence of the colonial era and a mindset of admiring the West led to these techniques being scorned and gradually disappearing. Architects trained in the European model believed only in cement and steel, completely dismissing the value of earth architecture. For decades, experts from the World Bank and international organizations insisted that industrialization and modernization along Western lines were the only way to solve the housing problem. They presented numbers, reports, and recommendations that seemed irrefutable, claiming that only cement and European technology could create decent homes. They were dead wrong. Until Ibrahim Traoré came along and completely changed the game. Ibrahim Traoré is not your typical politician or a Hollywood celebrity. Born in 1988 in Bondokui, Muhun province, Traoré was the son of a well digger and a farmer. He grew up in poverty, but with a deep love for his country and a belief in the potential of the Burkinabe people. Trained in geology at the University of Ouagadougou, Traoré had a profound understanding of his nation's land and natural resources. At the age of 34, he became Africa's youngest president after the 2022 coup, with a bold vision to build a self-reliant and prosperous Burkina Faso. When Ibrahim Traoré took leadership in October 2022, his first message was simple but resolute. We will build Burkina Faso with the resources and ingenuity of the Burkinabe people. No one can liberate us but ourselves. But unlike the empty promises of previous politicians, Traoré had a concrete, scientific, and achievable plan for a housing revolution. Phase 1, from 2024 to 2026, focuses on building the first 1,000 social housing units using innovative earth technology. The goal is to prove the feasibility and effectiveness of traditional materials enhanced by modern science. The main resources come from optimizing the state budget, cutting office rental costs, and fighting corruption. The expected outcome is to create a model for sustainable, low-cost housing suitable for the tropical climate. Phase 2, from 2026 to 2028, will scale up to 50,000 homes, building on the success of the first phase. This is the stage for mass training of masons, specializing in earth techniques, and establishing compressed earth block production centers across the country. The anticipated challenges are changing the public's perception of earth as a building material and ensuring consistent quality on a large scale. Phase 3, from 2028 to 2030, has the ambition of completing 500,000 homes, enough to completely solve the housing crisis in Burkina Faso. The long-term vision is to turn Burkina Faso into a hub for exporting green construction technology for all of Africa. The international impact is expected to spread to neighboring countries like Mali, Niger, and Ghana, potentially creating a wave of architectural revolution across the Sahel region. And the most important thing that makes the difference, it will all be done by the Burkinabe people themselves, with Burkina Faso's resources and ingenuity. No aid from the World Bank, no loans from the IMF, no dependence on Western technology, no need for foreign experts. And then, on July 12, 2024, the miracle began. July 12, 2024, will be recorded as the day Burkina Faso changed forever. There were no loudspeakers urging people on, no top-down propaganda, no threats or coercion. There was only a simple message passed from mouth to mouth, from village to village. Today, we begin to build our own homes, with our own earth, with our own hands. The people's response was immediate and more powerful than even Ibrahim Traoré had imagined. In the Center Nord region, 800 houses were started simultaneously at 4 different sites. Thousands of people from surrounding villages flocked in, bringing shovels, baskets, ox carts, and most importantly, their enthusiasm. They used local clay mixed with a small amount of cement for added durability, creating compressed earth blocks with manual presses. The immediate result in the first week was 50 foundations completed, and the most astonishing thing was the spontaneous spirit of community solidarity. In the city of Ouahigouya in the Nord region, 100 houses were being built with a unique feature. This area has high-quality clay with a distinctive red brick color due to its iron content. Mrs. Mariam Sankara, a 45-year-old widow with 4 young children, said with shining eyes, "I never dared to dream of having a real house. Now I will build it with my own hands, and my children and grandchildren will be proud of it." The local challenge here was transporting water for mixing the earth. But the community organized themselves into groups, creating a rotating schedule to draw water from the village well. In Nagreongo in the Plateau Central region and Bobo-Dioulasso in the Hautes-Bassins region, 50 houses were being built in each location on a smaller but no less vibrant scale. Young graduate engineers were sent to provide technical guidance, while village elders shared traditional knowledge about selecting the best soil, the right time to build, and the secrets to making durable earth blocks. The most moving story belongs to Ousmane Compaoré, a 28-year-old primary school teacher in the village of Bulsa. He lost both his legs in an old landmine explosion from a past conflict, but was determined to participate in building the houses by designing and drawing blueprints for the construction teams. "I cannot stand, but I can think and plan. This house will be proof that nothing can stand in the way of our dreams," Ousmane shared with tears of joy. But this project isn't just about emotion or spirit. It's about science, organization, and operational efficiency. The distribution system is organized on a cooperative model, with each village forming a construction committee of 5 to 7 people responsible for allocating materials, tools, and work schedules. The division of labor follows the principle of voluntary participation, but with specialization. Those with construction experience lead the teams, while the youth handle transportation and material preparation. Coordination between groups is managed through a system of mobile phone communication and weekly general meetings to share progress, experiences, and solve emerging problems. When disagreements arose over design or tasks, the village elders would meet and make a final decision based on consensus. Technologically, they use simple manual brick presses made by local mechanics from scrap metal. The ingenuity in using available resources is astonishing. Old cans are used to measure cement, old plastic drums become mixing tubs, and even old packaging bags are reused to protect the bricks from excessive heat. Innovation emerged from practice. The masons invented a way to use coconut fibers to create reinforcement in the walls and discovered that adding a little ash from cooking fires increased the hardness of the earth blocks. The communication system operated through daily meetings at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. when the weather was coolest. To ensure quality, each earth block is tested for hardness by being dropped from a height of 1 meter. If it doesn't break, the block passes. Progress is measured and tracked through detailed logbooks recording the number of bricks produced daily, weather conditions, and any technical issues. Adjustments and improvements are made continuously based on feedback from masons and residents, with young engineers always ready to adapt designs to fit real-world conditions. Transparency and accountability are ensured by publicly displaying the list of aid recipients, weekly construction progress, and detailed financial reports for all expenditures. A specific example from the village of Kaya, a group of 15 women, led by Mrs. Aminata Ouedraogo, 52, implemented an incredible process. From 5 a.m., they began digging clay from a pit 500 meters from the village. The clay was carefully selected with grass and stones removed. By 7 a.m., the clay was transported back to the village by ox cart and bicycle. From 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., during the coolest part of the day, they mixed the clay with cement in a 10-to-1 ratio, adding just enough water to achieve the necessary plasticity. The hardest part was pressing the bricks with the manual machine, which required strength and technique. Each day, this group produced 150 to 200 high-quality bricks. The measured results after the first month were impressive. The number of bricks produced increased from 500 per day to 2,000 per day in just 4 weeks. The construction time for a single house was reduced from 3 months to 6 weeks thanks to process improvements. The construction cost was only 1/10 of that of a concrete house, while its durability was twice that of a traditional tin-roofed house. Mrs. Aminata shared with a radiant smile. At first, I thought this was just another nice idea from the politicians, but when I held the bricks we made in my own hands, when I saw the house rising day by day, I understood that we could do the impossible. Now I believe that nothing is impossible for the Burkinabe people when we are united. October 15th, 2024 will be remembered in the history of Burkina Faso and perhaps the world. It was the day the first family moved into the first completed earth house in Ibrahim Traoré's program. The family of Mr. Burema Sawadogo, with his wife and 5 young children, officially became the first residents of Hope Village, the name the local people gave to this new housing area. The numbers speak for themselves about the project's success, which exceeded all expectations. The number of completed houses rose from a projected 50 to an actual 127 in just the first 3 months. The average construction time dropped from 90 days to 45 days due to continuous process improvements. The actual cost per house was only 2.8 million CFA francs, about $4,500, 40% lower than the initial forecast. While it was expected to require support from the state budget, the project became 70% self-funded by selling surplus earth blocks to other projects. But the most impressive figure wasn't a dry statistic, but the complete transformation in the spirit and belief of the people. Previously, clay was considered a material of the poor. Now it has become a symbol of national pride. People no longer dream of having concrete houses like Europeans, but are proud of their ability to create from their own Mother Earth. Ibrahim Traoré, on site in the vibrant Hope Village, said with emotion in his eyes, "Today, we are not just building houses. We are rebuilding trust, rebuilding dignity, rebuilding hope for the future. Every earth block that you brothers and sisters make carries the soul of Burkina Faso. And I promise you, we will continue on this path until every citizen of Burkina Faso has a decent home. But this is just the beginning of a much larger revolution." Within the first 6 months, visible changes spread throughout Burkina Faso. Economically, GDP in the construction sector grew by 23% compared to the same period last year, mainly from the production and use of local materials. The income of thousands of families increased significantly by participating in the earth block supply chain, from extraction and production to transportation. The export of earth blocks to Ghana and Mali began to bring in foreign currency. Foreign investment in the green construction technology sector increased sharply, with many African nations wanting to learn from Burkina Faso's model. Socially, people's lives changed markedly. They no longer had to live in houses as hot as ovens in the dry season or worry about their roofs being blown away by the wind. The rate of regular school attendance increased by 15% because children no longer had to miss school to help their families with frequent home repairs. Public health indicators improved due to better living conditions, especially with a reduction in respiratory diseases caused by dust. The social security situation became more stable as people found steady employment and faith in the future. Psychologically and spiritually, the change was even more profound. The way the Burkinabe people saw themselves was completely different. From a mentality of inferiority due to poverty, they became proud of their creativity and ingenuity. Trust in the government and in each other increased significantly as they saw promises fulfilled with concrete actions. The most obvious observable behavior was families starting to improve their gardens and plant trees around their new homes, showing their belief in the sustainability of their new lives. A new culture was forming, a culture of pride in made in Burkina Faso, from building materials to food and handicrafts. A specific example is the story of Mr. Salif Traoré, a 38-year-old welder in the city of Koudougou. I used to dream of migrating to Europe for a better life, but now, seeing what we can achieve right here at home, I've decided to stay. I have switched from welding iron to specializing in making earth block presses. My income has tripled, and more importantly, I feel like I'm contributing to building my country. Before and after photos show a stark difference. Areas that were once full of rusty tin shacks are now neat rows of warm, red brick-colored earth houses. Dusty roads are now paved with fired earth bricks, clean and smooth. Most importantly, the look in people's eyes has changed from gloomy to bright, from disappointed to hopeful. The impact rippled beyond Burkina Faso's borders like ever stronger waves. In the West African region, neighboring countries like Mali, Niger, and Ghana have begun sending delegations to study the model. The Malian government has decided to implement a pilot project of 500 earth houses in the Mopti region. Niger has begun training 200 masons in compressed earth block techniques. Even Ghana, a wealthier nation, is interested in applying this technology to its rural areas. The shift in the regional power balance is also clear as Burkina Faso, once considered a weak state, is becoming a reference point for sustainable development. The African Union, AU, has officially recognized the Burkina Faso model as a best practice in the field of social housing. Globally, the reaction from international organizations was initially cautious. In its December 2024 report, the World Bank admitted that the Burkina Faso model shows remarkable potential, but time is needed to assess its long-term sustainability. The IMF was surprised that a country could solve its housing problem without international loans. Development experts from Harvard and Oxford have begun serious research on the Burkina Faso model in green construction. The international media was initially silent, but gradually began to report positively. In a January 2025 feature, the BBC called it an inspiring story from the heart of Africa. CNN even produced a 30-minute documentary on the clay revolution in West Africa. The international research community has published over 50 scientific papers on Burkina Faso's earth construction techniques in reputable journals. The international investment community has begun to shift its focus. ESG, environmental social governance, investment funds are exploring the possibility of financing the expansion of this model to other countries. Several major European architectural firms have contacted the Burkinabe government to collaborate on a two-way technology transfer. Within the African diaspora community worldwide, the reaction has been overwhelmingly positive and proud. African Americans in Detroit initiated a fundraising campaign called Clay Homes for Africa to support the project's expansion. Remittances to Burkina Faso increased by 35% in the last 6 months of 2024, mainly for investment in the green real estate sector. Many Burkinabe engineers and architects living abroad have decided to return to participate in this revolution. Most notably is the emergence of a global earth architecture movement inspired by Burkina Faso. From California to Kenya, from India to Brazil, architects and environmental activists are experimenting with applying modern earth techniques to low-cost housing projects. Professor Andreas Schäfer from the Technical University of Munich, a leading expert in sustainable architecture, shared, "What Ibrahim Traoré and the people of Burkina Faso are doing is not just solving a housing problem. They are demonstrating to the world that solutions for the future can come from the past, from traditional wisdom combined with modern science. This could be the model for a global green architectural revolution." This is not just a short-term success or a temporary phenomenon. Ibrahim Traoré has a very clear and scientific long-term vision. Phase 2, from 2025 to 2027, will focus on scaling up to 100,000 homes, with plans to build 15 automated earth block factories across the country. The specific goals are to reduce the construction time per house to 30 days and the cost to 2 million CFA francs. The anticipated challenges are training enough skilled workers and ensuring consistent quality in large-scale production. Resource allocation will prioritize 60% for production, 25% for training, and 15% for research and development. Phase 3, from 2027 to 2030, has a much greater ambition: to complete 500,000 homes to completely resolve the housing crisis in Burkina Faso, while exporting technology and expertise to 10 other African countries. Technologically, Burkina Faso will develop a type of earth block with integrated micro-solar panels and an automatic rainwater harvesting system. Institutionally, it will establish the African Earth Architecture Institute to train architects from across the continent. The 2030 vision that Ibrahim Traoré sketches is a completely different Burkina Faso, 100% of the population with standard housing, becoming a leading exporter of green construction technology in Africa, and a comprehensive improvement in people's lives with a doubling of the per capita income compared to 2024. More importantly, Burkina Faso will contribute to humanity by proving that sustainable development is not just a theory, but can become a reality. And most importantly, this model can be replicated and applied to any country or community that has the determination and the right methods. So what can we learn from the Burkina Faso miracle? The story of Burkina Faso teaches us 5 important lessons that any community can apply. Lesson 1 is about the power of self-reliance. When Burkina Faso refused to depend on aid and decided to solve its problems with its own available resources, it discovered immense hidden potential and capabilities. Instead of waiting for help from the outside, they found the solution within the very land beneath their feet. This means that any community can start by looking at what they already have, rather than focusing on what they lack. Lesson 2 is about the value of unity. The success of Burkina Faso did not come from a single genius, but from the collective power of 22 million people working towards a common goal. From children to the elderly, from farmers to intellectuals, everyone participated in this housing revolution. In any project or goal, the power of the collective always surpasses the ability of the individual, and when everyone believes in a shared vision, nothing is impossible. Lesson 3 is about the importance of vision. Ibrahim Traoré didn't just have a short-term plan, he had a clear long-term vision up to 2030, helping everyone understand that they were contributing to something much bigger. Every brick made today serves the grand goal of building a prosperous and self-reliant Burkina Faso. This teaches us that any effort needs a clear purpose and meaning to sustain long-term motivation. Lesson 4 is about the power of simple solutions. Instead of seeking complex or expensive technology, Burkina Faso returned to the simplest material, earth. But they didn't just copy old methods, they combined them with modern science to create a superior product. This shows that the best solutions are often simple, easy to understand, easy to implement, and easy to replicate. Lesson 5 is about the importance of execution. Ibrahim Traoré did not stop at words, but immediately moved to concrete action with a clear timeline. From his first day in office, he had a detailed plan for each phase, each goal, and how to measure results. No idea becomes a reality without a specific execution plan and the determination to persevere. These lessons are not just applicable to Burkina Faso, but to any community, organization, or individual in the world facing challenges and wanting to create positive change. Because at its core, this is a story about fundamental human values, belief in human potential, the power of unity and cooperation, the determination to overcome adversity, and a vision and hope for a better future. So the question for each of us is, if 22 million people in Burkina Faso can create a housing revolution from clay, what can you do in your community, in your job, in your life? Change doesn't require a huge budget. Burkina Faso did it at 1/10 the cost of traditional methods. Change doesn't need permission from a higher authority. They decided and acted on their own. Change doesn't need advanced, expensive technology. They used the simplest tools. Change doesn't need high-level degrees or deep expertise. Ordinary masons created a miracle. Change only requires real determination and commitment to making life better. Change only needs to start with small, concrete things you can do today. Change only needs a spirit of cooperation and sharing with like-minded people. Change only needs patience and persistence towards the set goal. Change only needs a clear vision of the world you want to create. Today, right now, you can start by identifying a specific problem in your community that you care about. Perhaps it's a waste problem, a lack of green spaces, or families in need of support. Then, research and connect with like-minded people. In the internet age, finding people who share your concerns is not difficult. Finally, start with one small but concrete action this week. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to start. Because, as Ibrahim Traoré said, true strength does not lie in skyscrapers or advanced technology. True strength lies in the hearts and hands of the people. When we believe in ourselves and unite with each other, we can create miracles that the world cannot imagine. The real heroes don't wear capes or have superpowers. They don't need a PhD from Harvard or backing from some billionaire. They just need their hands, their minds, and their hearts, along with an unshakable belief in their ability to create a better future. They are ordinary people like us, but they dare to act instead of just complaining, refuse to wait for the perfect opportunity, and build change themselves, step by step, day by day. Ibrahim Traoré and the 22 million people of Burkina Faso have proven that nothing is impossible when people are united and determined. They have turned bold dreams into living reality, turned clay into hope, and turned poverty into strength. If this story inspires you, please like this video so the algorithm can share it with more people, share it with your friends and family to spread the positive spirit, subscribe to the channel to follow more stories of human strength, and comment below to share your thoughts and inspiration. Let's celebrate the silent heroes of Burkina Faso and remind the world that the real power to change lies not in skyscrapers or international conferences, but in the very hands and hearts of the people. Thank you for taking the time to follow this story. And remember, change starts with you, from today, from the smallest decision in your daily life. Like every earth block in Burkina Faso, every small action of yours contributes to building a better world.